Okay, let's bow, please, in prayer. Oh, dearest Lord Jesus, we gather today to study your word. We also ask that you be with those brought to us. Bless those who are in sickness, broken bones, or suffering from that information of old age. Bless the hands of those who care for the medically, spiritually, and socially needy. We know that you hear the words, but you already know. We ask that your healing power and your blessings on all these and the blessings you give us, in the name of our Holy Father, Jesus Christ. Amen. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I did used to be a Bible study leader, but it was for kids. And I know that you're bigger than that. So this is going to be a new adventure. Well, yeah, pretty new. So we'll have...
difference, Keith. It's all good. Go for it.
I know. An hour from now, it'll be all over. That's right. That's right. Okay. The one thing that's always been remarkable to me is the accuracy of our Bible. And considering that it's been written by over 40 different people over a period of 1,500 years. And the accuracy of it, there are people who have tried to disavow what is in there, but have never found anything that was not true. So we're going to go into that with that same background. This is the first of 3 different accounts of how Israel gathered the great amount of land that they captured. So we picked this up just after they defeated Ai. And as we look at these things, for those that haven't looked on the back, there is a map. And that's the area that we're going to be talking about. So you can refer to that, and which I think is really interesting, because it's all within a close proximity to the things that have gone on. So as we go through, we'll discuss some of those things. So I need somebody to read 1 and 2, first and second verses.
The Gibeonite deception. Now when all the kings west of the Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon, the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and
All the types.
All the sides.
They came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel.
Most of these kingdoms were small, independent cities, and they scattered all over. And what it reminded me of is Faye and I took a trip up the Rhine River, and there was one section of about 40 miles that there were over 30-some castles within that small section. Some of them looked like they were in the backyard of somebody else. But those were kingdoms. So I envisioned that these were small villages, small towns that had gathered together to come against Jacob. And so they were going to do war against him. But something told them when they found out what had happened, what Jacob and Israel had done, Joshua and Israel had done, they changed their mind. They decided they couldn't fight and live. So they tried this. So let's read 3 to 8, please.
However, When the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they resorted to a ruse. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn-out sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet and wore old clothes. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. Then they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." The Israelites said to the Hivites, "But perhaps you live near us, so how can we make a treaty with you?" "We are your servants," they said to Joshua.
Okay, they decided that let's try something else. And so they tried to pretend that they were from a far country. Well, they weren't that far away from where Joshua and Israel was at that time. So I don't know what their prior scouting reports had done, but they were suspicious. They were suspicious. In their dress, they went to a great deal of detail to try to use this ruse to get with them. And they said, "Perhaps you live near us, so how can we make a treaty with you?" And because God allowed Israel to make treaties with people from far away and not close by, because that's the land that God gave Israel. So that was why they were asking that question, I think, is, how do we know you're not close by? Well, if they'd looked at that map, they would have seen it, Yeah. Well, yes. Didn't they have maps back then? So anyway, it seemed to be working, the ruse. The one thing that they did ask, Joshua did ask, "Who are you and where do you come from?" So they didn't really get specific as to what country they were from or where they had been living before. Even though these places on the map are not really very far from each other, they're still, maybe some of them might be a day's walking from one to the other. But the word got back to Gibeon, what had happened at Ai, and they didn't want to face the same armies. I don't know how many men that they had gathered from all of those small villages and stuff. They were at Gilgal, and remember in the past when Joshua and Israel crossed the Jordan River, they were told to pick up 12 stones as when the river was dried. That's where they placed them, was at Gilgal. Gilgal is an area that is has a lot of water, so that was a good camping area for them. So they got together at that time. Okay, I need somebody to read 9 to 13, unless somebody has some questions, comments. Okay.
But Joshua asked, "Who are you and where do you come from?" And they answered, "Your servants had come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we had heard reports of him, all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. Our elders and all those living in our country said to us, 'Take provisions for your journey, Go and meet them and say to them, 'We are your servants. Make a treaty with us.' This bread of ours was warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you. But now see how dry and moldy it is? And these wineskins that we filled were new, but see how cracked they are? And our clothes and sandals are worn out by the very long journey."
Okay, how far would you have to walk with fresh bread before it became dry and moldy? And wine bags, new wine bags that crack.
I would think that a wine bag would last at least a year.
I would hope, yeah. It depends on how much,
Bread might
yeah,
mold in a week.
in a week.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not real far away from walking.
No,
No.
but that wineskin, if it's cracked, and normally it would last a year, I'd say they kind of overstepped their bounds just a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, they were still suspicious. Joshua and Israel was still suspicious because they didn't believe all that. And so one of the things that came to my mind and spotted early is they call themselves their servants. Now, in doing so, what they have indicated is, we surrender. You know, we're not going to fight you. We will do your bidding. So we are your servants. And the reason that they came was not necessarily to save themselves from fighting, which they did, but why did they come? That first sentence tells us why they came. Your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. It was God that they feared more than they did Joshua and the Israelis, because they had heard not only of what happened Jericho and Ai, but they probably have heard of what happened in Egypt with the prophets, or with the plagues and things that happened there. So they knew what the power of God was, but it was your God. The reason we came because of his fame. So they knew what the power that God had with them. If you look at the back of that, Jacob did a great job on this for us. And the green markings are what they have just done. It shows crossing from Shittim to Gilgal and to defeating Jericho and Ai. And if you looked at the map where Gibeon is, just straight down from that, in the center of that empty space, is about where Jerusalem would be. Yeah. So anyway, that's okay. Will somebody read 14, please?
The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live. And the leaders of the assembly ratified it by oath. 3 days after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites, the Israelites heard that they were neighbors living near them. So the Israelites set out, and on the 3rd day came to their cities, Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath-Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them, because the leaders of the assembly had sworn an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. The whole assembly grumbled against the leaders. But all the leaders answered, We have given them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel, and we cannot touch them now. This is what we will do to them. We will let them live so that God's wrath will not fall on us for breaking the oath we swore to them." They continued, "Let them live, but let them be woodcutters and water carriers in the service of the whole assembly." So the leader's promise to them was kept.
Sampled the provisions. They didn't ask permission. They were told you can't, that you could take things from other battles, but they were told not to. So they sampled some of the provisions. Well, I take that back. They could take them if they defeated them. But so they didn't ask Joshua if they could have any of the tribute. And one of the reasons that could have been is that they still didn't trust him, that the moldy bread could have contained poison. So if the troops were sampling the wine or sampling the bread or whatever, they didn't know what was in it. And that could have been one reason why Joshua was not consultant at that time. Or it could have been another ruse to get them comfortable with themselves and let their guard down, and then an attack come. Who knows? They still didn't trust him. And one thing, a couple of things anyway, woodcutters and water carriers are just other terms for household servants, because in a household, that's normally what they would be doing, is bringing wood and water. They were also, though, that to supply the tabernacle. Okay, they needed a lot of wood for the fires at the tabernacles when they did their sacrifices. They also needed a lot of water because that was where the killing floor was. That's where they sacrificed all the sheep and stuff. So I could imagine it was probably pretty messy down there. Now, on verse 18 back there, that they men grumbled. And the reason that they were grumbling was not because they wanted to follow through with their order to kill them all, but because they couldn't get any of the tribute and the plunder that they would have gotten had they done that. It was more about the plunder than it was the killing. So 22 to 27, anybody?
Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, "Why did you deceive us by saying, 'We will live a long way from you'? Well, actually, you live near us. You are now under a curse. You will never be released from service as woodcutters and water carriers for the house of my God." They answered Joshua, "Your servants are clearly told how the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you the whole land and to wipe out all its inhabitants from before you. So we feared our lives because of you, and that is why we did this. We are now in your hands. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you." So Joshua saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. The day that he made the Gibeonites woodcutters and water carriers for the assembly to provide for the needs of the altar of the Lord at the place of the Lord would choose, and that is why they are, that is what they are to this day.
Okay, the place the Lord would choose. So at that time, Joshua moved the tabernacle to Shiloh after they were there, and then when Solomon became king, it had already been taken to Gibeon. So he moved it to Jerusalem at that time. So the tabernacle moved around a little bit. Now Gibeon, I don't want you to confuse that with the Gideons. Entirely different.
Out of interest, I was reading this morning, and to confirm your original statement about the accuracy of the Bible, I was reading this book on the history of the Bible, and it is the most accurate document that we have from all the ancient times. The Aristotle, even in those days, clear back to Gilgamesh, and the Odyssey are not nearly as accurate as the Bible, because they'd spent some time describing how when they were before the printing press, all the way back, they would actually count the letters. As you know, in other words, one person would write it, another person would count the letters, and so there was an extreme amount of effort made to make it accurate. So that's, to me, was an interesting fact.
Yeah. Thank you. You bet.
Mike?
It seems if we take chapter 9 in just as we've just read it, and you look at what does it say if you were to take something from this into today's world, and what it says to me is that if you have a plan that isn't based on what's right and good, that you better expect that there will be a consequence, which most likely will not be good. And it's really no different today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Gibeon was the more dominant tribe in that, or city in that area. It was close to Jericho and close to Jerusalem later on, but they took a chance and saved themselves that way. But you're right. Yeah.
Goes to show you how important planning is.
Yep. Plan the work and work the plan. And be ready to change if you really need to. Plan B. Yeah. Any other questions? Going to be a fast one today. More time for fellowship.
That's okay. Cindy?
Well, all the people that came, that originally were going to try to overtake them, and then they changed their mind because they thought they were going to lose for sure. Was that the whole village, or was it just the men? And were there people left behind?
Oh, there were several of them. There were several villages, several towns.
Did all the people come, or did they leave some family behind? Or?
No, I think
so the whole
I think they were all going to come, and I think that Gibeon got there first. I think that because they were coming from all the coastal cities on the Mediterranean and some of the others, because there would not have been enough in Gibeon to have any kind of a battle at all.